It started with a scream. Not one of fear, but of release. A sound so pure, so primal, it cracked open the air like thunder. We were deep in a mountain sanctuary where no roads led and no signals reach. The only presence was nature, silence, and something ancient, something watching. A woman, one of the participants, had just undergone what the guide called the quantum collapse. In seconds, years of stored childhood trauma had left her body. Her whole system reset, and we caught it all. That moment wasn't staged. It wasn't planned. It was real. And it's what you're about to witness, not just as a viewer, but as someone who's about to experience your own version of it. Because this isn't a documentary, it's a portal. And if you let it, this journey could change your life forever. We're going to show you something the world doesn't talk about, how the elite chosen ones, those rare, deeply awakened souls, release childhood trauma instantly through quantum jumps that defy logic, therapy, and time. This isn't about forgetting your story. It's about shifting your place within it until the pain no longer owns your frequency. We've all been told that healing childhood trauma takes years, that you need to talk it through, journal it out, cry it into submission. But what if that's only one path? What if there's a shortcut hidden in plain sight? What if the trauma isn't stored in your memory, but in your energy? And what if, with the right frequency, the wound that's been running your life since childhood could collapse in seconds? That's what the chosen ones have discovered. They don't heal by analyzing the past. They quantum leap into a version of themselves where the trauma no longer exists. Not because they ignore it, but because they stop resonating with the version of reality where the trauma still controls them. This isn't magic. This is mechanics, quantum mechanics. Everything is frequency. And trauma is just a memory loop vibrating in your field. If you want to be free, you don't have to solve the loop. You have to stop vibrating with it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
We met a man who had been abandoned by his mother at age 5. That pain had followed him like a shadow into every relationship, every job, every mirror. He had tried therapy, psychedelics, even silent retreats. Nothing stuck. Until one night, under the guidance of an elder who had never once used the word healing, he was asked a single question. What if your 5-year-old self never needed saving? That question cracked something open. He stood up. He screamed. He collapsed. And when he woke up, the loop was gone. Not the memory. The charge. The emotion. And the identity. He had quantum jumped. And you can too. So how does it work? First, we must understand this. Trauma is not the event. Trauma is the energetic signature left behind when the nervous system couldn't integrate the event. It's like a recording stuck on repeat, echoing through your body and decisions. The chosen ones know this, and they don't try to rewrite the story, they rewrite the frequency. They go into deep coherence. Then they make the jump. And when the frequency changes, the past can no longer follow. Because the past is not a timeline, it's a vibration. You've felt this before, even if you didn't realize. Have you ever had a moment where suddenly everything made sense? Where the pain you carried for years suddenly felt distant? That wasn't coincidence. That was a mini quantum shift. But the chosen ones know how to do it intentionally, and they don't wait for the perfect moment. They create it. Right now in this moment, you could release 20 years of buried hurt if your frequency aligned with the version of you who is already healed. The only question is, are you willing to let go of being the one who was hurt? That's the hard part. We build our identity around our wounds. We wear them like armor. We use them to explain our behaviors, justify our fears, and demand love. But the chosen ones don't build from pain. They build from possibility. They ask, who am I without this story? That one question is the doorway. Because the truth is, the story doesn't define you. Your frequency does. And the moment you choose a new frequency, the old story loses its grip. So how do we change our frequency? First, we enter the body, not the thoughts. The body stores the trauma. The memory is intellectual, but the pain is somatic. And the body doesn't speak English. It speaks vibration, movement, breath, sound. That's why the chosen ones don't just meditate. They scream, they shake, they breathe until the illusion breaks. They let their bodies tell the truth their minds are too afraid to say. And when the body releases the trap signal, the entire timeline collapses behind it. We watched a woman who had been molested at 6 years old go into a spontaneous quantum jump during a sound ceremony. She wasn't re-traumatized. She didn't relive the pain. She transcended it. She began to laugh, uncontrollably, as if something absurd had just been revealed. Afterward, she said, I just realized I was never broken. I was just misaligned. That's the secret. You're not broken. You're just vibrating in a version of you that learned to survive. The instant you choose to resonate with your thriving self, the survival self disappears. This is why the chosen ones don't chase healing. They embody wholeness. They visualize the healed version of themselves and then they become it. Not someday, not in the future. Now, they speak as if the healing has already happened. They walk as if the burden has already lifted. They listen to music that their healed self would dance to. They eat what their healed self would crave. They surround themselves with people their healed self would attract. And they do this until the field responds. Because the field always responds, not to your hopes, but to your signal. And yet, the enemy of the jump is resistance. The part of you that clings to the pain because it feels familiar. The inner child who's afraid to let go of the wound because it was the only thing that made them feel seen. The chosen ones don't reject this part. They integrate it. They sit with it. They say, I see you. I love you. But we're going somewhere new. And then they take that inner child by the hand and leap together into a new timeline. The leap itself can feel like chaos. You may cry. You may sweat. You may feel dizzy. That's the body updating. That's the nervous system recalibrating. Let it happen. Don't try to make sense of it. Let the old frequency leave. Let the survival identity dissolve. And when it does, your vision clears. Your posture changes. Your voice deepens. Your choices evolve. You become someone new. Not because you learned more, but because you remembered who you were before the world trained you to forget. So here's what we want you to do right now. Close your eyes. Picture a version of you who has never been hurt. Not because the events didn't happen, but because the frequency no longer holds. See that version. Hear their voice. Feel their breath. Now ask, what are they doing that you are not? What do they believe that you still doubt? What are they free from that you're still carrying? That version of you is not fiction. They are real, waiting, already vibrating in the field. You don't need to earn them. You just need to match them. And when you do, the jump happens instantly. When you step into the frequency of the healed self, it doesn't mean the memories vanish. It means the emotional charge is gone. It means the identity built from pain begins to dissolve. But here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing to heal, the healing completes itself. The chosen ones don't obsess over fixing every crack in their psyche. They realize the cracks are where the light got in. They stop trying to be perfect and start resonating with the version of themselves that has already integrated the lesson. They stop seeing trauma as a curse and begin to see it as the code, the very friction that activated their awakening. We met a man who had been emotionally neglected his entire childhood. He never heard "I love you" from his father. For decades, that silence became his internal soundtrack. Every relationship he entered was a subconscious attempt to get someone to say what he never heard. Then one day, after a breathwork session, he sat completely still and said, "I don't need them to say it anymore. I am it." That was the moment the jump occurred. Not because someone fixed him, but because he stopped outsourcing love. He became the frequency of it. And when he did, the field recalibrated his entire life. This is the law of quantum identity. Whatever version of you you embody most consistently becomes the one the field reflects. Not the version you hope for. Not the version you journal about. The one you embody. That's why chosen ones are so committed to embodiment practices. They don't just visualize their healed self for 5 minutes a day. They live as that self 24/7, even when it's uncomfortable. Even when the external reality still looks the same. Especially then, because they know the field is always listening. And what it hears is your dominant frequency. If you still identify as someone who was hurt, abandoned, betrayed, even if you've done years of work, you're still vibrating in that timeline. The chosen ones don't deny their past. They just don't carry it forward. They don't tell the same story over and over. They don't use their trauma as an excuse. They upgrade the narrative. They say, "Yes, that happened. And now here's who I've become because of it." That shift in language is a shift in frequency. Your words are spells. Every time you speak about your past, you are either reinforcing the wound or recoding your timeline. So ask yourself right now, what story about your childhood are you still repeating that no longer serves who you're becoming? Are you ready to retire that story? Are you ready to stop needing to be the one who was wounded? Because here's the truth, your trauma gave you depth, wisdom, empathy, intuition. But it was never meant to become your identity. It was meant to activate your evolution. The chosen ones don't just survive their pain, they alchemize it. They turn it into power. And that power becomes the fuel for the jump. You may be wondering, how do I know if I've jumped? The answer is simple. Your reaction changes. The same trigger arises, and you respond differently not because you forced yourself, but because your frequency has changed. You no longer feel the need to defend, to prove, to please. You no longer feel the old ache in your chest when someone raises their voice. You no longer feel small when someone questions your worth. That's how you know. Not because the world changes first, but because your response does. And when your response changes, the world must follow. But here's where it gets real. Sometimes the quantum jump requires solitude. The chosen ones often go through seasons of isolation not because they're antisocial, but because they're recalibrating. When you're shifting timelines, the people, environments, and habits that match your old self begin to fall away. This can feel like loss, but it's actually alignment. You're not losing people. You're losing frequencies that no longer match who you're becoming. And when you let them go, you create space for resonance. You create space for the people your healed self would magnetize. One of the deepest truths the chosen ones live by is this: the jump is not a destination. It's a decision. You don't wait until you feel ready. You decide to be ready. You don't wait until you have all the answers. You decide to move even with the questions. Because the field doesn't respond to hesitation. It responds to certainty. And the moment you decide that the healed version of you is the only version you will tolerate, the field begins to rearrange itself around that signal. So what does this look like practically? You wake up and ask, what would the healed me do today? You eat, breathe, move, speak, and think from that space. You stop negotiating with your old self. You stop tolerating environments that trigger your wounds. You stop engaging in thoughts that lower your frequency. You stop explaining your growth to people committed to misunderstanding you. And you start living as if your healing is already complete. Because in the quantum realm, it is. This is the truth behind instant quantum jumps. They don't require time. They require truth. The more honest you are with yourself, the faster you jump. The more you embody the healed version of you, the faster the field mirrors it back. It's not about waiting, it's about being. And if you're willing to be that version, even when your bank account, your relationships, your health still reflect the old, you will collapse time. You will collapse timelines, and reality will catch up faster than you ever thought possible. We've seen it happen again and again. A woman who had been in therapy for 20 years quantum jumped in one ceremony, and within days her autoimmune symptoms disappeared. A man who had carried shame from childhood abuse quantum jumped, and the next morning he reconciled with the father who had abandoned him. Not because the father changed, but because he changed. He no longer needed the apology. He was vibrating in a reality where his worth wasn't up for negotiation. And in that frequency, miracles become normal. This is the power of chosen frequency. And it's available to you right now, not in a year. Not after you read 10 more books or attend 5 more retreats. Now. The only thing standing between you and the jump is your attachment to the familiar, your addiction to the wound, your fear of the unknown. But what if the unknown is where your freedom lives? What if the version of you you've been searching for isn't far away but already here, waiting for permission to rise? So here's what we want you to do. Find a quiet space. Close your eyes and breathe deep into the belly. Now, feel into the moment in childhood that still holds pain. Don't analyze it, just feel it. Notice the tightness, the story, the emotion. Now ask yourself, is this the version of me I want to keep choosing? And if the answer is no, if even a part of you is ready to let it go, then say it out loud. I choose the healed version of me. I choose the frequency of freedom. Say it again, louder. Until your body believes it, until your nervous system updates, until your field shifts. This is the moment. The portal is open. The jump is here. Will you take it?